And now backstage of the event, live chat with Chip on Valentine's Day Eve. And I'm so glad that we've got Mr. Chip Tsao in front of me. It's so nice of you to organize such an event, to meet your friends, readers, supporters, to enjoy some wine on a Friday night.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Mr. Chip Tsao, I know you come from a newspaper family. Your parents were both editors and you began to read and subsequently write in newspaper when you were young. So can you tell us what kind of books when you read back then and which author inspired you the most?
Well, I used to read quite a wide range of books. Chairman Mao's Little Red Book to the Oxford English course textbook. So that gave me a bit of a clashes of value. When I was in primary school, I was taught with Bible. And then after 1967, I was transferred against my own wish to a pro-Beijing primary school.
Against your own wish?
Yes, straight away I was told the Bible was poisonous, right?
Yeah.
So as a 7-year-old kid, that was rather puzzling.
Yeah.
But against my will, because I asked my mother, why should I leave True Light Primary School on Tai Hang Road and then without my own choice and transfer to another one in Happy Valley? I didn't change it. My parents were under some kind of political pressure. Coming from the newspaper institution where they used to work at.
Okay, understand.
At that time, it was sort of a peer, very silly peer political pressure. And they were asked by their superior, now Chairman Mao has launched his great cultural revolution. Hong Kong is going to be liberated by the Communist Party. So it is highly advisable your son should go to a pro-Beijing patriotic primary school, just to prepare for that great day mentally. Right?
Okay.
I had my own peers and good friends at True Light School, so that gave me a bit of a trauma. I kept dreaming of my old course-mates in the previous schools for a very, very long time.
You kind of lived in a memory at that time.
Yes.
You were forced to do that. And I'm sure that is the reason why you left Hong Kong to study in the UK in secondary sector.
After the riots,
and
then China went through a bit of a turbulent time until the Gang of Four was arrested soon after Chairman Mao's death. And then I suppose some degree of common sense came back to the Chinese Communist government. Deng Xiaoping stepped out as the new leader. And all of a sudden, all these Chairman Mao thoughts, together with the all radicalism of communism, were treated as, if not rubbish, something extremely outdated. And all of a sudden, the pro-communist community in Hong Kong felt as lost as Cinderella when the clock has just struck midnight, right?
It's a big change.
Yes, spiritually, they were just reduced to rags and a kind of, poverty in thoughts. And nobody knew what was going to happen. And the American imperialists and also the British colonial evil power remained as strong as before. So it would be natural for my parents, together with many, chose to defect a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And then all these happened without my own free choice. And as a teenager, I was reaching again something like 16 or 17. I was rather amused, right? Why I was transferred to school A to B and then back to something like C. All of a sudden, the Bible makes sense to me. Right? It was no longer an evil imperial and colonial black book. I went through a bit of a turbulent time together with the people of Hong Kong in those 2 decades, in the 60s and the 70s.
And then you moved on to study some very intriguing subjects like English and European
I wouldn't call
literature.
them intriguing. They were very unpopular subjects, and I think they still are among Chinese parents and students who believe that education means pragmatism, who believes that a university degree is nothing but a bridge that would take you to, I don't know, Morgan Stanley. Cathay Pacific, or I don't know what, China Petroleum,
Okay.
right? And then
Stable job.
guaranteeing stable jobs with lucrative pay. I felt a little bit lost. I wasn't good at science, and I was much into humanities, like
Yeah.
literature and fine art. At that time, I was being warned by so many, what do you want to be with a degree in English? You want to teach English? I tell you what, as a Chinese, I could reassure you, if I want to learn English, I wouldn't choose to learn English from someone like you, a yellow-skinned Chinese. I prefer a Guaylo. I was given all these,
Yeah.
very, I don't know, good-willed, but very racist warning. Can't I, for God's sake, choose something I very much like to do?
So you defy the norm.
Well, I think it's ridiculous. Chinese parents and Chinese adults like to tell what their children ought to do
What
and
to do,
ought
yes,
to choose.
Exactly.
I
have
wouldn't
the
say
same situation
I
now.
wouldn't say it's totally wrong, but it's almost as fixing up a marriage or something like that.
Yeah, so that's why a lot of young people want to move out from their parents' house, and but it's kind of hard now because of all these expensive property prices.
Yes, it's a bit too late now.
Yeah.
Properties get more and more expensive.
Yeah.
And get a bit smaller and smaller.
And I know your favorite place definitely the UK. You spent 16 years there. Can you tell us what do you love about it? What kind of music are you into?
I wouldn't call myself an Anglophile, but
Yeah.
inevitably, while I spent 16 golden years in a country which was at that time being revolutionized by a very powerful iron lady called Margaret Thatcher. She was straightforward. She had a lot of convictions. She refused to mess around. She refused to take any common ground when necessary, and she had her own unequivocal set of values and beliefs. Right? And then she made it. She changed the face of the UK, and that was powerfully overwhelming to someone who shared a very significant decade, not only with her government, but with so many in the UK. Right? I'm not an Anglophile, but just like any British or American who have spent, in the past, some Maoists, 2 decades in China, he or she would have come out from China not only with an obsession with the sweet and sour pork, I would say, with the great degrees of sympathies with Leninism and Maoism. That would be natural, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. Okay, I know you need to go back to Broadcast Drive to do your radio show soon. So before I let you go, Mr. Tsao, can I ask you what kind of tips would you give to Hong Kong youngsters to have a successful career in general, like yourself?
The youngsters live in a bit of a different time now. It's an iPhone age, and everything goes so quick. But the upside is technology is so popular. IT is so popular. And also the global economic system is being reshaped by this little magical box invented by Steve Jobs. So it's a completely new tide of technological civilization. We are on this tide. The situation is similar to what Europe used to be in the 1920s, when coaches and carriages, horse carriages, were being eliminated, when the Rolls-Royce engine, brought about cars, and then the motor cars were becoming very popular, and also steamships, right, and also huge engines. It was a time of not just technological revolutions, but a revolution for thoughts, new challenges for new thinking. Right? So we are more or less standing on the threshold of Huxley, the Brave New World again. What we need to do is just to assess where this new technological or IT tide is going to bring the world to, and also meet new challenges and seize as many opportunities as possible. There are certainly new opportunities, apart from the 1.4 billion people's China market. That's becoming a cliche.
Yeah.
But when you think of the China market, you have to couple your imagination and your ambitions with a very reasonable degree of social knowledge and historical knowledge of China, so that you would avoid the pitfalls, right?
Yeah.
And be as inventive as possible. Look at other products invented or created by your peers in other parts of the world, Europe, America, Canada, even Asia. It's easier to travel, much easier to travel compared with 30 years ago. Go to Japan and South Korea and even Taiwan and feel the pulses of the young generation there. Look around and be inspired, and then come back and do as much reading as possible. Don't just get into the IT. Read some philosophy. Alain de Botton, right, the new up-and-coming philosophical English writer, and then even read a bit of Shakespeare and the Chinese Tang poetry to consolidate your tastes and your values in the most comprehensive way. That would be my advice. With a bit of a luck, you'll be doing well.
Okay. I'm sure that I'm very inspired by you here today. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
for your time. Yeah, thank you.
Don't give up on us, baby.